What's up, guys? Jason Payne, your host of the Sexy Business Status Podcast. I'm here with my man David Morse. And David is a stud. We've been golfing. He's way better than I am at golfing.
Which isn't saying much.
Nonetheless, I went through way more golf balls than he did. But we'll go through how we met and whatnot. But David works with Keller Williams. He has over 1,000 agents under his belt, right?
Yep.
Making moves. Young dude. I love the young hustlers, but like true hustle, not the fake influencer bullshit. Like they have legitimate teams, legitimate businesses. And that's what I love. I was just on a podcast literally 20 minutes ago, and he was talking to me about this and this and this. I'm like, dude, I was like, being an influencer, I'm like, that's not a business though. Yeah. You can make a shit ton of money, but like you get paid. But the second you stop posting or you stop becoming an influence, like Radio Shack, like Blockbuster, like poof, you're gone. Your revenue goes away.
It's a job, right?
Yes.
It's a job.
Or you can have it's a job. Yeah, you're a high paid employee. Exactly. You can be a very high paid employee, but nonetheless, right? So, David, I know your story. Maine?
Maine, yeah.
Maine, dude. So David's from Maine. Let's back up here. So I was talking like, where are you from? I'm like, Maine. I'm like, first of all, who's from Maine? It's like, who's from Arizona? Nobody from Arizona. Yeah. Right?
Maine does exist. It is part of the United States.
It is.
To start with that.
Apart from 5th grade geography, it is a state. But people actually live there. It's not just like forest.
No. That's crazy. But the main businesses are lobster and logging. So like, I mean, it's
one of those
all the stereotypes are true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I grew up in Maine. Spent the first 18 years of my life there. Then moved to the Midwest, did the whole like college, grad school, get into business, and then moved back. That's when I got into real estate.
Okay.
Before moving out here to Arizona.
That's awesome. That's super cool. Yeah. So married?
I'm married.
2 daughters?
High school sweetheart. Been married for almost 15 years.
15 years. Okay.
I have 2 daughters, 2 sons. Yep. I have biological twin boys and then 2 adopted daughters. Okay. So yeah, that's my crew.
So party of 4. Very busy.
Very
busy. So high school sweetheart, you said?
Yep.
That's crazy.
And that's same with you and your wife, right?
So I've known my wife since 8th grade.
I knew it was a long time.
Yeah, we did. So we didn't date actually. We were just like I call it like at high school friends.
Oh,
we're only friends like when you're at school. We didn't outside of school. We didn't like talk or hang out. And we'd write each other's yearbooks like, call me or like see you next year, and literally we wouldn't talk all summer. And then the next year we'd see each other and like hang out again.
I love it.
So, but yeah, I met Heidi at Town of Gilbert Parks and Rec swim and dive team.
Oh wow! It's like it reminds me of like Wendy Peppercorn and like Sandlot or something.
Yeah, literally like 8 or 9 years old. Literally swim and dive team, and it's now closed down. It was called Gilbert Junior High back in the day. So yeah, because I'm a 4th generation Arizona.
Man.
Yeah,
I didn't know Arizona went back that far. So similar to Maine.
So it's crazy. Yeah, so I'm not gonna tell the story, but so Alma School Road.
Yep.
In Mesa was named after one of my great grandpas called Alma Platt Spilsbury.
No way.
Yeah. Wow. Brigham Young said LDS, the whole LDS card, right? So moved down from Utah. Brigham Young said, hey, go down and set up in Arizona. They come down, they set up shop, and Alma Platt Spilsbury, he, very wealthy dude, donated some land. They built a school on it. And like there was a road. They're like, oh, what should we call the school or the road? Like we'll call it Alma School Road.
That's
that crazy?
I love history like that.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's like my claim to fame. Like, oh yeah, I know that guy. So it's funny. I remember like horse and buggy type stuff.
Crazy.
Cotton fields, dairies. Like I grew up in OG Gilbert, and
wow.
Dude, I didn't know what north of the 60 was till I was like 18.
What was the population of Gilbert at that time?
Oh, dude, like 100,000 maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So put this in perspective. So you talk about like how that was just like horse and buggy, like no one around or whatever, and rural. And I grew up in a town of 1,500. 1,500.
Dude, I have 1,500 like cousins.
one stoplight. My wife grew up in the next town over, 2,000 people. And our school, like the public school, was like a conglomeration of like literally 15 cities. Like because they were also, I say cities, they were towns.
Are they still that small though?
They're also that small.
Yeah.
Like Maine, and that's the thing with Maine is like there's not really any infrastructure that like can support any big metro, and so even Portland, Maine, the biggest city that everyone would recognize, is only like 65 to 70,000 people. Tiny, right? That's and crazy. There's like every single suburb of Arizona or of Phoenix is bigger than our biggest city.
Yeah.
And so it's
yeah,
like
Casa Grande is bigger than your town.
Yeah, Casa Grande's like the smallest, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's just a
Very
completely different way of life, like in Maine. It's fun, but that's where I got into real estate. Joined up with Keller Williams in 2017. Got my license, did some deals. I got into investing in real estate. Quickly went into brokerage management. I realized that like I had a passion for leading other people. I had a decent amount of success in my early 20s out in the Midwest when I lived in Minneapolis in the insurance business. And in the insurance agency world, I was leading sales teams and running an office, running a business. And so started doing the same thing at Keller Williams in Maine. We own the franchise for the entire state. And in like 18 months, we went from 300 agents to 525 agents.
Huge growth.
Yeah, massive growth. We had massive market share. We were 1 out of every 2.5 transactions in the state of Maine.
Brutal.
It's like you drive up the coast, and it's just like KW, 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 every single sign. We were the cool place to be. It was just fun. We were changing people's lives, and people were in a state where the household income is really in the 40,000 range.
Oh, wow.
You know, we had several hundred agents making double the household income, which is just like when you have something like that happening, like culture change, life change.
It's a movement.
It's just like, it was a really cool place to be around. So that's where I cut my teeth.
And then you fast forward, you're here in Scottsdale, and now you're managing how many agents?
So we have about 1,100 agents across all our offices. We have, when you include all the branch offices and everything, we've got about 14. We own 3 separate brokerages that are all under the same leadership team.
Okay.
Keller Williams Southern Arizona, Keller Williams Elite out in Goodyear, and Keller Williams Arizona, which encompasses everything from Prescott, Flagstaff, all the way down into the valley. When I got here, it was January 2020. We had about 4...
Right before...
Yeah, right before COVID.
Yeah.
Like
the
3 months.
real estate, like, oh, COVID. Real estate's like, bro, we loved COVID.
Hold my beer.
Yeah. Was it like construction? Like, oh man, COVID must have been tough. I'm like, record-setting year twice.
Yeah, everyone was at home going like, I need new things.
Yeah, I'm bored. Like, let's fix our house, or let's sell our house. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that.
Yeah. Oh, and you can get an interest rate for 2.5%. Yes, we can.
Oh, free money, man. Is it? It's weird to talk. It's weird to talk about those years like they were the glory days. Like,
I'm locked in at a 3.33.
Is it? 2875. Yeah. You know, free money, man.
And $500,000 equity. Like
it's insane. Yeah,
it's crazy.
And I think, I mean, this is a different subject, but it's like a lot of posers made it during those years, and they're being, the tide goes.
I want to talk about that too. That's not just in real estate. That's in business in general. And I want to go deeper into that.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So let me ask you this. So, real estate, it's the easiest thing to see and to notice because everybody and their mom was doing that, right? But you also had all these guys that all of a sudden would get their GC license, and all of a sudden they're doing all these remodels and all these additions and all these custom new builds and whatnot, and they've never done any of that ever. But people are literally begging, like, hey, here's $100,000, like, trick out my house because they can't leave and they can't do anything, and I need a home office. That was like a huge thing. Yeah. Pools like went crazy because they closed all the public pools. So I live in Power Ranch. We have 5 pools.
Wow.
5 pools, and we have 2 huge ones, and there's 3 little guys. Like big, huge, massive deadbolt locks on these gates at the pools, at the community pools, and there's 4,200 homes just in Power Ranch. So you have 4,200 homes, and there's 5 pools, and you go from 4,200 homes still to 0 pools.
Yep.
Right. So everybody's like, well, we can't do this. So everybody's going to their in-laws or going to their parents. All the big, like, Sunsplashes and all those guys are completely shut down, right? It wasn't a thing. So, like, people are starting to build pools and whatnot. But people that weren't masters of their craft were literally getting work simply by supply and demand.
Totally.
I love supply and demand because I have PTSD from working for somebody for 8.5 years where his phrase was, when it rains, they'll call us. I'm like, dude, bro, what happens when you're in Arizona? Like, what happens when it doesn't rain or monsoon season,
Most of the year.
Right? Yeah, monsoon season. Like, there's always monsoon season. Well, there wasn't this year, and it was either 2020 or 2021. It was like almost non-existent, like jack crap.
Oh yeah. So I think it was 2020. Like everything went wrong that year.
Yes. We'll default to the COVID year. 2020. Yeah, the whole. Yeah, but like, I promised myself that any business that I started in Avenue Roofing, I promised myself that I would build a business that would generate revenue without, no, it doesn't matter what the interest rates are, doesn't matter who's in office, and doesn't matter about the weather. Like, I'm gonna build a bulletproof business that will do $1 million a month, every single month, no rain, no hail, no windstorms. You obviously come from weather, right, where all these cities that you lived in, there's crazy weather. You're in Arizona, like, there's no catastrophic storms here. There's just not. The one we had was in 2010.
Yep.
And before that, it was like 30 years before that. So we haven't had one in 13 years, probably won't have one for another decade.
Well, dude, what you're saying reminds me of an analogy I use with agents, right? Agents talk about, and they buy into this lie that their business success rises and falls with the success of the market, right? When the market is up, they think my business is up. When the market is down, which, by the way, like, what does that even mean? Right. But when the market's down, my business is going to be down. But I challenge agents to flip that axis and instead see the market's not up or down. All that's happening is you're changing who needs to transact real estate at any given time. And so similar to what you're saying in the roofing contract, it's just a business principle that you and I have to be masters of. When the cheese moves, how do we prospect and market to where that is now? Right. And so your business doesn't have to be up or down. And in fact, we love when interest rates are high and the market is challenging, because it really reveals the true colors and it separates the wheat from the chaff, if you will, the lion from the sheep. And it gives those people who are the true killers in the business the opportunity to take market share that they never give back.
Totally. So two things that when you said that was, one of my favorite quotes that I came up with. I'm sure I probably stole from somebody. I don't know who to give credit to.
Give credit to yourself.
Don't bank on we do not bank on the market. We bank on our market team. Because then the market goes up and down. It's like, and that's the thing. Like, cool, interest rates are up. Well, guess what? That means, I mean, depending on other stuff, there's foreclosures, there's short sales, there's all those type of things when you get up there, or you start scooping up properties, and all of a sudden now you have this massive portfolio of rental properties that you're just cash flowing like crazy, right? Because you can't get approved for a house, or they don't want to get approved for a house because it's 8 or 9 points. Cool, let's go rent. Well, I need a rental property. Boom, there you go, right? And so that's how it is with us too. Is I just can't. It drives me nuts, and I want to scream from the rooftops. Although, like, I transact with them and I do work with them, agents are like, man, it's really tough right now, and the market this and the market that, and I'm like, dude, you just have a shitty mindset. Like you said, you just gotta flip it. Like, your mindset sucks. Like, how grateful you should be that it's 9 and not 29, or 9 and not 19, or 15 or 12, that we're not in double digits, because we have been, right? If you go through history, like I just did a couple hours, just like I'm like, oh, just looking at it, I'm like, holy crap! I'm like, 9's actually still sexy. Yeah. We got away with murder at 3, and obviously it's it's kicking our ass. But the principle of it being like, what are you doing to build a sustainable business 12 months out of the year, no matter who's in office, no matter what the interest rates are, and no matter the weather, right? Like, what are you doing?
Well, it's one of the things that's been revealed in the last year is just how out of touch I think any salesperson is with some of the fundamentals of the business. Sure. One of the things that we've been stressing so much lately is just simple communication patterns. Things like question-based scripts, if you will, or conversations, whatever you want to call them. Listening well, listening effectively. These basic things coupled with marketing and communication strategies that just, for the last 3 years, they really didn't have to do any of it. And so this year, it's just like, I don't want to ever say back to the basics, because we're never going, I shouldn't say never, but we're probably not going back to the conditions that we had over the last couple of years, at least for a long time. But instead, we are having to ask the question, what are the basics, and what do those basics look like now, moving forward? Well,
and it always comes to me, reactive versus proactive. Yep. You could have been a reactive agent, a reactive contractor in 2020 and still made a shit ton of money, and because people were literally just falling on your lap, like begging you to fix their this or their that, or to buy or sell their house. And it's absolutely insane. But now you have to be proactive. the analogy that one of my mentors, James Engel, uses when the tide goes out, you see who's skinny dipping.
That's yep.
Right? And so that's like right now, that's what I love the most, because all my studs, we were talking about a couple of guys off camera, like all these other big players that you know and you're friends with, whether they're KW, whether they're EXP, whether they got their own boutique brokerage, and they're just hustling and slaying. But I heard a stat literally a month ago that said there's 66,000 active agents in Arizona, and only 22,000 of them have sold one or more houses this year. That's a third.
Yeah.
Like, what if we said that, like, yeah, there's 33,000 roofing contractors in Arizona, only 22,000 of them have done a roof.
Dude, a month and a half ago, 82% of the agents in NAR had completed fewer than 4 transactions.
That's not even one a quarter. Well, and that's in November. So I'm saying, like, you're not even a full 12 months.
Yeah.
That's one every, like, I can't fathom being an agent and getting a check once every 3 months, or even the guys that are doing they're doing 6 deals a year, one every other month, even one a year, and that's a 6-figure income. But like one paycheck every 30 days, and even if it's a fat one with commas and zeros behind it, I'm like, shit.
Well, it boils down to who's going to treat this truly like a business and who's in it just for fun.
Like a hobby.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right? And I joke around all the time. I'm like, are you running a non-for-profit business or a for-profit business? Because I'll tell you what, if I'm running a non-profit, I don't want to be working with buyers and sellers. Like I'm going to go do something different.
Yeah,
like I work for a real charity. Exactly. But this business can be lucrative if you'll approach it like a business. Which means, I was... it was late. It was like 5, not late, but like 5:30 yesterday, and I was getting ready to take off from the office, and one of my newest agents, who came suited up, ready to work that morning, walked out at 5:30, and I said, "Hey, I'm proud of you." And he said, "For what?" I said, "For suiting up and coming to work," because that's the reality. Is a lot of agents just they don't. They expect it to fall in their laps.
Or they leave at 1 o'clock after lunch.
Right.
Yeah, and they're like, I have a job. I'm like, dude, I was like, you worked 4 hours. I'm like, but then you have the guy that was there at 7, went home at 5:30.
Yep.
That dude's gonna smoke you all day long.
All day long.
Business is math.
It's always math.
Business is math. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I'm like, dude, I was like, so they were looking at my social media. I got asked to speak on a panel, and there was 50 people that they were gonna interview for like a mental mindset type of conference. And they had a list of 50 people, and I was on one of them. So ironically, they picked Nick, who's my personal trainer. They picked Nikki T, who's my business partner.
Okay.
And they picked me. And they said, what'd you base it off of? And they literally said, we went to your Instagram and your Facebook. And that's literally how they judged you. Well, I have 6,200 posts on my page, right? But like the power of it, I'm like, I'm going to beat you because my numbers are, I have developed a craft, like I said, the skill set to be able to be consistent with whatever I'm doing, whether it's cold calling, whether it's door knocking, whether it's flyers, email campaigns, whatever it is. I think people just give up too easy. They give up too early.
Well, they give up too early, for sure, and I think that's something we could spend an entire afternoon talking about.
Right.
Jason, I think another thing that people do is there's just too much ego involved.
Oh.
And the ego is
word.
what like totally brings people, to fall apart. And one of the questions that I've been asking agents a lot lately is just this like diagnostic question of, has your business earned the right to?
Yeah.
And then I just say, fill in the blank. And what I find is that without putting in the time, the effort, the practice necessary, the reps, exactly, they expect that their business should be somewhere where it hasn't earned the right to be. And the analogy that I always give, or the example I always give, is the agent that comes, they've done a couple deals, and they go, hey, can I get an office at our brokerage? And I just throw it right back in their face, and I say, has your business earned the right to have an office? And they go, well, what do you mean? I said, well, have you looked at the budget model that we teach? And they go, what do you mean a budget model? I said, would it surprise you that I actually have a budget model here that tells you exactly how much you've earned the right to spend on an office? They go, no, I had no idea. Like, yeah, here's our model, and you tell me, have you earned enough to have an office?
And it's a yes or no.
And it's a yes or no. Because like you said, It's a math equation.
And there's no emotion.
No emotion.
So you can't put your ego into it.
Yeah. I'm not being a jerk. I'm not being a jackass to these people. I'm literally out of care saying, treat your business like a business and ask yourself, has my business earned the right? Because what I find is that the ones who don't make it, the ones that don't have sustainability in the real estate business, is the ones who they buy into their own press way too fast.
Oh yeah.
And
I think their shit doesn't stink.
Exactly. And so that, if you'll just ask that question about so many things, has my business earned a right to have a billboard? Well, do you even know what it's going to cost you, how long the contract is, what your ROI should be?
How many deals you need to do just for the billboard?
To cover it.
Not even including your rent.
Exactly.
Just have the billboard on. So two things that come to mind when you said that. So Brandon Dawson, you know Brandon Dawson, Cardone Ventures, he's business partners with Grant Cardone.
Okay.
So not only Brandon Dawson, they own Cardone Ventures. They live here in Scottsdale, PV. Mm-hmm. Amazing couple, super good people. He talks about how the only emotion allowed in business is the emotion of celebration. And that stuck with me forever, and I absolutely love that because that's where the ego's getting checked. I'm like, core values, we hire and fire off of core values. I'm like, there's no emotion here. It's not that I like you or don't like you. You went against this core value and this core value, like you're gone. Sorry. Right? Or you want to raise or promotion? Cool. You've been kicking ass at this core value and this core value. It doesn't matter if I like you or not. I don't get to decide that because those are my emotions making an unrealistic approach or decision when it needs to be based off of facts, right, and not emotion. So that was number one: is no emotion in business except for the emotion of celebration. Another thing that I love that you said was earned, not given. And that's the biggest thing. Like, I just had my sales team meeting yesterday. We had a record-setting month in November.
Congrats.
Thank you. You know, it's also true. I'm also very transparent. We had the shittiest month of the year in October. Very transparent. We did
way to rebound.
Dude, we did $600,000 or $700,000 in October. Some people, that's what they do in a year. But for me and my standards and where we're at, that's absolute dog shit. And I lit a fire in my guys. I'm like, dude, so we did 1.25 in November. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. It was awesome. It was super cool. But the cool part was that one of my sales reps had done $200K before, but when you sell $200,000 at State 48 Roofing for the first time, you get a custom hat. So there's only, if you see them, it's a brown leather patch. If you see them wearing it, that means they've done $200,000 in sales. Only my sales reps get it, and you have to do $200,000. I had a sales rep do 197. He said, "Do I get a hat?" I said, "Absolutely not. You don't get it." So, but it was cool. I was able to pass out 3 hats for those guys. Said these are earned, not given. Also, if you do 100K, I take you golfing. So we actually have an 8-sum going golfing because my sales manager, he has his own goals for the whole team.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, these guys did this. We had 2 or 3 guys, sold 200K and blah blah blah. So these guys are gonna go golfing. I'm gonna go with them." I'm like, "No, you're not." I was like, "Your goal is 1.25 a month. You don't hit 1.25, you get to stay here and work your ass off to hit 1.25 next month." And he didn't get a hat. That was his goal. So we're in November and now in December. I just gave him the hat for the first time this year. Our sales manager, I know their sales reps get a hat, but not my sales manager. Why? You didn't hit your freaking goal. When you set something and you those are earned, not given. And that goes down to our kids and everything as well. But
totally.
Dude, when you give shit away for free, there is zero commitment to it. There's zero respect towards it, and it's taken for granted.
Yeah, what you're talking about is makes me think of a statement. I think it was Jocko that said it. And it really is just around standards. You're talking about standards, and standards aren't what you write down; it's what you tolerate, right? And if you had tolerated a hat going to the 197, what message is that sending to the rest of the team for years to come, right? And have ripple effects.
Yeah. And that's one of my biggest things is when you guys, let me ask you this: how many of these agents they struggle with consistency?
Oh, 100% of them.
Because they see them on social media, and some of them are gangsters, but then they disappear, or some of them just go to their page and they have 30 posts, and I'm like, guys, it's free content for you to get your name out there, get your brand recognition out there, and you're not using it. Why?
And I say 100
from a real estate perspective. Why?
When I say 100%, it's not that we don't have varying levels of consistency.
Sure.
And it shows in the results. almost exclusively the activity dictates the results. And so, sure, we've got the $150 million teams and the $80 million teams and the $50 million solo agents that are doing, deals just consistently every single month. And their activity is consistent, but I think even if you go to them, they're going to tell you that they struggle with consistency as well. One of the things I love is seeing your consistency around your workout and everything. It's like every day it's on. And I'm the same way. Like I have a very consistent workout regimen that I am pretty public about, and if I miss a day, like I let people know, and I want to stay accountable to that. But I know you and I are the type of people that like, even us, like consistency sometimes is probably a challenge. And it's not about whether or not you fall off the train, it's about how quick you get back up.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of agents struggle, is that they do the thing for 2 or 3 or 4 days, but it's like that illustration in Think and Grow Rich. They do it and the diamond's right on the other side, but then they fall off the train. Yeah. And rather than get back up, pick up the pickaxe, and just keep busting away, they go, well, they throw up their hands and this doesn't work. Yeah. And then they go look for the next shiny object. And that is probably the biggest thing that I see in real estate, is this desire to reinvent the wheel. And at the end of the day, automations exist now that didn't exist even when I got in the business 6-7 years ago. Mm-hmm. Tools exist that didn't exist. But at the core, this is just a contact sales sport. And that never changes.
No.
And so if you can just get consistency around the activity of, I'm going to talk to this many people every single day, I can guarantee your success. I've got the math equation for that.
Right.
It's just, are you willing to have those conversations?
So one of my buddies, Jason Jarvis, who owns Slate Restoration, shameless plug, he talked about how people don't want to do the dull and the boring.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to be a business owner? Find something that's super dull and super boring, and that's where you'll make a shit ton of money. Yeah. Not the shiny thing that's like roofing. What's sexy, right, about roofing? It's like, well, I made it sexy, but roofing, it's dirty, it's nasty, it's sweaty, it's 115 degrees, it's asphalt and tar, and you have to wear gloves just to get up on a roof, so it'll literally burn your hands. Like it's dull and it's boring. It's not sexy. It's not it's not appealing. But like when you truly understand, Kenny Klaus is in this chair 3 months ago. Right on. Love Kenny Klaus. He's an OG. He's been through
awesome.
2.5 decades of markets, and he talked about he's like because he's just like you, sees all the automations, all these things moving and upgrading and changing and whatnot. He's like, dude. He's like, Ty Lusk is with him, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, me and Ty, he's like, our team is like, we stick to like the same 3 things. I forgot the word, to be honest, but it was like door mailers, phone calls, and like something else, just like the most dumb, open houses, the most dumb, boring, mundane. I was waiting for this, like, and Kenny Klaus is, he has restaurants.
He's a stud.
He's got to be pushing 9 figures in wealth. He's absolute gangster, right? But like the crazy part is, he's like, no, those same 3 things from like 2 decades ago. Yeah. Still are the things that get us the most.
And this is something I see a ton.
It's crazy.
In Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, like these areas where I have offices too. It's like the higher the agent's price point, the more they buy into this idea that like their business is unique. But I have a friend and mentor who runs a $275 million sales team out in Palm Springs, all luxury real estate, $2-3 million average sale price. He's crushing it. And one of the things that I love is I had a group of some agents ask him, hey, what's your secret? And I think like sometimes these high-end luxury realtors think that like, oh, well, our business is so unique, it's going to be some other magic bullet. And he goes, I do a huddle with my team every day. We review the KPIs, how many calls they made, how many contacts they made, how many appointments they set. And then we figure out the gap, and we pick up the phone. And our team makes about 250 phone calls a day. And I sat there with all these high-end agents who I love. They're great. Yeah. They're part of my team. But it kind of floored them. Like, oh, wait. It's not some, like, unique thing. It's not, like, some high-end, high-dollar event. It's you pick up the freaking phone, and you sell luxury real estate. And it's like, yeah, it really is basic. Yeah. But we have a saying inside KW we say this business is simple, not easy. The simplicity of the business is it's all these things that we're talking about. Right. The not easy is the staying consistent and not giving up. Yeah. Especially in a market like right now.
It's crazy. It's great. It baffles me. So I call them the $30,000 millionaires. Right, yeah. Scottsdale. Welcome to Scottsdale, Arizona. We are the home of the $30,000 millionaires. We have Mercedes that we can't afford, and we actually sleep in our Mercedes because we can't afford a condo. And but we wear all these designer clothing and whatnot, and I do 4 transactions a year, and I make $30,000 a year. But I look like I make $300,000 a year, $3 million a year. How do you? And in my opinion, not the fact that you're here, but in general, I would say real estate is probably the biggest imposter syndrome based industry. One of them. Because of the opportunity to look all flashy, but then I found out a handful of years ago that you can find out exactly how many transactions each and every single agent does. So I call my mortgage buddy, like, hey, just curious, this guy. He's like, no. And I'm like, what? He's like, 6 transactions for the year. I'm like, shut up. I was like, no way. And then this other dude, quiet, calm, humble, chill, he's like, 42 transactions, solopreneurs, or solo. I'm like, 42? I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. I'm like, that dude does 6 or 7 or 8 times more than that. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, he does more in a month than he'll do in a year. But so how do you break that is my question. How do you get agents to truly understand that, like I call them, it's a 4-letter word, like hard. And then, oh sorry, wrong one, work. Right? They're like, oh crap, right? So it's like, pick whichever one you want. It's hard and it's work, or work hard or hard work. But either way, like how do you, an agent that wants to come in, especially in this kind of a market, what it's all about culture, right, in my opinion, and then accountability. What do you do to when you bring in agents to help them develop that skill set, that work ethic, because no one else teaches it, and everyone's like, one of my top producing sales reps that left, he made probably $135,000 in sales under me, working for me, killing it. And his nephew made $250,000 in 6 months doing door-to-door solar sales. And he looks at me and said, it shouldn't be this hard to make that much money. And he left. And now he's actually working for another roofing company. It didn't work out, right? Of course. But like, the principle of it was, he's like, it shouldn't be that hard. I'm like, why are you giving up so easy? Why are you like trying to look for the easy route out instead of just like, understand that this is going to suck and it's going to be hard? How do you, in 2023, going to 2024, how do you take that and push that work ethic and that skill set that I feel has like been abandoned by most?
My mind immediately goes to a book by Tim Grover. Tim coached
Relentless?
Winning.
Winning, yep.
And he in the book, yeah, me too.
In Salt Lake.
In Salt Lake, I was in Anaheim or something.
Oh, and Fountain Hills, duh. He was at Andy Elliott's.
Oh, was he? Okay, he was at our family reunion or something.
Top 5 favorite speakers, audibles, podcasts. Anyways.
So
love Tim Grover.
So I'll do this, and hopefully Tim's not listening to this. Love his book. Not a fan of his speaking, but anyway, that's beside the point. Anyway, in Winning, he asks you to define winning and what word do you associate with winning? And I think a lot of people put like glory, success, whatever. And I might be mistaken, but it was either Kobe or Michael. Basically, said this winning's hard. It's dirty, it's hard.
Never ending.
It's never ending. Yeah, it follows right into relentless, right? Yep. And I think that's really the mindset that you've got to develop as an agent is that, yeah, winning can be fun for a minute.
Sure.
But you're in business. Like every day you wake up and like your success is driven by you.
Right.
And if you have developed into a leader, leading other people, it's you and your team. Right, and how do I succeed through people? And so one of the things that I just feel like in my time leading hundreds of agents and recruiting thousands of agents to Keller Williams brokerages, it's people just don't know what they actually want out of life. And it's not a generational thing because I would argue it's been present in every single generation. But no one is really having conversations with them about, well, what would your life look like if you made the $200,000 that you come and tell me you want? My business partner and one of my mentors, in all the brokerages. Kristen Cole talks about this all the time. Like, when you make $1 million, what would it actually do for you?
Sure.
And not just like, oh, well, we take vacation. No, like, where would you go? What memories would you actually create with your kids with this money? Because if I wake up and I don't actually have a job for those dollars, I'm really not going to be tied to the outcome of those dollars, especially if I've never made that amount of money before.
Yeah.
And so, right, money, I think you and I share the value. Money's good for the good that money does, right? Yeah. And it's not about the money in and of itself. It's about what, like, good it does for yourself, your family, your community, the world at large.
Experience, make an impact.
And it's the resource that drives everything that we do. And so you're only robbing yourself and your family and others if you don't have clear in your mind's eye what you're going to do for that. And so I'd say probably 75-80% of the conversations that I have with the majority of my agents, especially the ones who just haven't unleashed their potential yet, the ones that are still like, they're just every year hitting their head against a ceiling, it's, hey, Jason, I just don't think you quite know what you want to do with the money yet. I don't think you're quite in touch with why you're doing this.
And because you don't know exactly what you want, the universe is not going to give it to you
100%.
Because the universe knows you're going to blow it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So I love Tim Grover. Love the book Winning and Relentless. It's absolutely amazing because he talks about that. So I don't know about your CRM, but my CRM, you can do all these custom filters of like how much for the quarter, how much for the week, how much for the month, how much for the year, all that stuff. But ours is set up, I don't know if it was on purpose or maybe it's just like a default, but it shows the top 5. So I have 8 sales reps. It shows the top 5 on the front page, the landing page, the home page. Shows the front 5 and only for the month. So this past month, we have dudes. One of my sales reps had $297,000. Eric.
Month.
Nice.
Eric.
Yeah, Thanksgiving. And so I brought him to Dallas with me for Carlos Reyes and Sean Whalen and all those cats, right? Andy Elliott and Bradley. But like, fast forward the weekend, well, December 1st was that Friday or Saturday, right?
Yep.
And guess what? You wake up,
0.
0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That is my favorite freaking day of the month. Like the day before that's awesome, but that next day, like everybody, like clean slate, everybody's at 0, let's go, right? I just love that because going back to the whole Tim Grover thing is like winning's great, but like as soon as you win a Super Bowl, right, or you win your World Series, you win your pennant, win whatever, and get your ring, literally the next day you get kicked, winning just goes bam and just kicks you down the freaking hill, and you're at the bottom with everybody. Now, you're not, in my opinion, you're not the same as everybody because you had the experience from being up there compared to the ones that stayed at the bottom and are at the bottom and didn't try and go and grow because there's experience with that. And experience, in my opinion, it gives you leverage. But the point of it being, you go, you win, you kill it, we had a great year. Well, what about the next year? Right? Or it drives me nuts. Guys that talk about the glory days. Oh, back in 2004 when I was doing loans and blah, 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 and before the recession and during COVID, I'm like, dude, I was like, yeah, the agents during COVID is still just, it's just comical at this point. I'm like, dude, what did you do the year before COVID? The year before rates dropped into the 5s and the 4s and the 3s? What have you done in I'm looking up, what have you done in 2023? Because 2020, 21, and 22, like, I don't even count those. It's like the bubble, right? LeBron James, the Lakers. We won it! Dude, you played like 40 games with a mask on. Like, it doesn't freaking count. It's absolute bullshit, right?
Well, you even make it smaller, Jason, too. It's like, what did you do yesterday? What did you do today?
Yes.
Because all of this is related to your habits, and consistency is just a function of your discipline, right? And so like you just gotta get really, really granular with these things. If you want to change your success, you gotta change your habits, and freedom does come through changing your habits.
Sure.
And so oftentimes, we think of Atomic, or this book by James Clear, right? Atomic Habits as these big things.
It's the third time I've heard that today, by the way.
It's little things. It's tiny things that lead to the change, right? And that's where I think sometimes we get in our own way. Agents want to think way up here. They want to think that success is way out here, and really it's a function of my boys. We went we were down in, where were we? Westgate Entertainment Center over in Glendale.
They
ran this past weekend in their first 5K. Okay, I have twin.
I saw that.
28-year-olds.
Okay.
Right. And they had never run 5K before, and so I'm talking to them before the race. They're used to running 1K on their cross-country team.
Which is like, what, 3 miles compared to...
1K, yeah, so 5K is a 3.1 mile, and 1K is like 3/4 of a mile, right? Yeah. And so this was a big difference to them. And they said, well, Dad, how do I pace myself? And I said, buddy, just focus on putting one foot in front of the other, and then put the next one in front of the other one just a little bit faster. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the day, at the end of the race, I think you'll have a good time. And shameless plug for my sons. This is 1,200 runners, all age groups. My 8-year-old took 30th overall.
Out of 1,200.
Out of 1,200 with a time of 24 minutes and 20 seconds. And then my other boy, 27.
That's an 8-minute mile.
Placed 80th overall. So all the runners
8 years old
were 39, 32, 36, 24, a dozen high schoolers, and then my son. And really, I bring that up not just to brag on my boys. They take after their mom, but I bring it up because it really was just in that mindset of one step over the next, one step over the next. And I do believe that success is not exponential, it's sequential. And it's just that the next domino that has to fall. And eventually that experience and that leverage compounds to create a hockey stick effect. But it doesn't start like that. That curve just looks very, very boring, very dull, and it sometimes looks like you're not even winning.
Oh yeah.
Until then all of a sudden it snaps in and it takes off.
That's crazy. So, guys, David Morse, K-Dub, the K-Dub Club. So, dude, how can they follow you on social media?
So, I'm on Instagram and TikTok, all the things, but mostly Instagram, David D. Morse, like Morse code, beep, David D. M-O-R-S-E.
So, I want to bring David on for, I work with probably, not in my phone, but in general, I think we work with like 700 agents.
That's awesome.
Which is cool, but like I only let, not even 10%, 1% of them on my podcast. But I met David randomly through a bunch of different things. I was like, hey, let's go golfing, hit it off. And when you truly understand that when you find people that have the same likeness and the same mindset as you, right? Christian-based, want to help out, want to make an impact, married, have kiddos, and you just like want to hustle and you just want to do some awesome stuff in life and take your family along and have some awesome experiences. Like that's what basically wanted me to just connect with you. It was like, I got to be around this dude more. What can I do? So one, thank you for coming on. Two, if you are an agent listening to this or you are a small business owner, there's no fee for the podcast. I don't run any ads. There's no commercials. The only thing I ask is if you're an agent listening to this, one, I hope you took down notes and you implement something.
Please.
For the love of all that's good, we call it FTI, failure to implement. Like, do not forget to implement something that you learned from a podcast or while you're reading the Bible or while you're on your knees or while you're, listening to someone or something, whether it's relentless or winning. But like, truly make sure that you implement something every time you listen or read something. Make sure you have an action plan to implement something after that. And apart from the implementation, I want you to share this with somebody. Share it with another agent. If you're a small business owner, maybe share it with an agent that you work with, right? Maybe a team member that you work with that could benefit from this. So, David, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it, dude. And this is the Sexy Business Status Podcast.